Welcome back, audience and listeners, to Middle Age Gamers. Today I am in the first chair, joined by our fellow Final Fantasy enthusiast, Antoine. Krian is going to be with us in the audience today while he is doing other things, but will be cheering us on nonetheless. And as the title of today's stream and podcast suggests, we are going to be diving into all things Final Fantasy. Antoine and I have been Final Fantasy fans for a long time. So when was the first time you played a Final Fantasy game, Antoine?
So I think it's a bit like everyone in our generation back in secondary school. So FF7, when released at the time in 1997, I think it was the first one, at least for me in France. So in the PAL region, that was the first Final Fantasy game released. So it was a huge success. So yeah, first one for me. How about you?
My first one was technically Final Fantasy VI, although it was 3 for the Super Nintendo. So my friend had it, and we would always go over to his house and play it, and that's where we eventually got into it. So I played it there first, and then later on when Final Fantasy VII came out, I got super excited. I got a PlayStation because I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII because I had so much fun with Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo. So I'm going to update the titles here because I realized that I didn't do that. So
It's all right.
all right, so I'm going to do this real quick. All right,
Okay.
Adam, and I'll edit this part out for the podcast. Antoine.
It's okay. I have my son waking up in the background as well.
Oh
Damn it.
no.
It's all right.
All right. Okay. All right, good. We got the titles updated. Okay, so where was I? Oh, yes. All right, so both Antoine and I play Final Fantasy 14. And so I thought it would be interesting to start there. So what is your most played or preferred class in Final Fantasy 14?
So I always privilege, distance class. So in there I was a bard, and I thought it would be a very funny combo to play as a Rogadin. So if you don't know, the Rogadin is like your Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in the 80s, this big muscular guy being a bard. So I thought it was very funny. Yeah, I have a very weird sense of humor. And recently, recently they released a dancer. I could just imagine my Rogadin as a dancer make me laugh. So very likely that's what I'm gonna change for.
Oh, okay, I actually really enjoy the dancer. It's one of my favorite classes. Uh,
Yeah, but imagine Schwarzenegger as a with a tutu and trying to
yeah,
steer
exactly.
the party. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, for the Bard, do you like it because, I mean, it's a range class? What do you like about it? Just the mobility or the...
Usually I like range DPS, but it was I have a guild of friends playing, and at the time they didn't have a support class. Like the one playing Bard, usually our main role was Black Mage, so they really needed more DPS. So I came over as a Bard to support. So if you don't know what the Bard is like, he's singing to buff up the party. So it's a very important support role, and if you have one in your party, that's really gonna boost the DPS and
Okay.
healing and all magic type of all magic types. So yeah.
Okay, I like the dancer because it's just super easy to play. It's one of the easiest classes in my opinion. It has the fewest buttons. You can fit them all on
Really,
almost 2 bars. Yeah.
I really need to try. But I really like the bard because of the support. But over the year, because that's not new FF14. Over the patches and all, it moved from support to pure DPS to back to support. So I haven't played in a few months, so I don't know exactly what's the focus yet right now because of the dancer, which is support. So maybe it's back to DPS. I don't know. Do you know about that? Or
I don't know about Bard. I got it at level, what, 30, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. And I
yeah, like me
didn't
for
level
the other
up.
class. Yeah.
Yeah, I played the other class. So my classes are... Actually, I originally started off as a summoner when I first started playing the game, and I did that because I had played the Warlock in World of Warcraft, and so the summoner was supposed to be fairly
Mhm.
similar to the Warlock. Um, but yeah, for some odd reason, I guess in my mind, the way a summoner should work in Final Fantasy was different, and it didn't click. I do enjoy it. I played it quite a bit. It was probably my second most played class in Shadowbringers. Shadowbringers, yeah, because
Yeah, Shadowbringers.
Yeah, because it ties in with the scholar, and so having that, I can use it as a healer or a DPS actually makes it really easy to level it up. But my most played class would probably be the warrior, just because that's what's always on the duty roulettes, and so they always need tanks. So I would always play as a tank, and yeah,
A warrior as a tank? Ah, I like not as a main tank then, as an off tank, I guess.
well, because in the duty roulettes, unless in the dungeons, there's only one tank.
Oh yeah,
So
true.
yeah,
Sorry.
you'd only be an off tank in trials or the alliances, and alliances typically, or the alliance raids, they typically need DPS. So in those, I would default back to the summoner or the black mage. I actually tried out the black mage, and I absolutely love the black mage. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
It's super crazy though. Like it's just so much going on with it. Trying to
I
keep
tried.
your Enochian up and
I try to go white mage because healer is pretty cool, but the job is really cool. I really like the class and all. I just don't like the community. You're
oh
the first one blamed all the time. I
yeah.
died. Yeah, maybe if you don't jump on the guy and aggro everyone, maybe you'd have more chance of living through it.
Yeah, there's definitely, especially in dungeons, it's and that's one thing that's always stressful as a bit of a tank because some people they just want you to run wall to wall, and
Exactly.
other
Yeah.
people are like stop every one or two engagements, and so you're
Oh,
always
that's
kind of
me.
like yeah, so you're always trying to gauge like okay how much can people handle, and sometimes if you're going too slow, then yeah people are blaming you and they're like oh come on like whatever yeah
Yeah,
and
but
so
I'm the type of guy who burns through all his mana in like 3 seconds. So I really need to regen every 2 packs.
ah yeah all right so apparently I didn't reset the game. I only reset the title according to Korean here. Ah, I see what happened there. Okay. Okay. All fixed. Yeah,
Antoine
so
is fine.
yeah. So I basically play Black Mage and the Warrior are probably my two most played classes. But again, Summoner's right up there, and so is the Dancer. I've been playing a lot of Dancer, and then recently I've been doing a lot of Gunbreaker, just to try it out.
Oh, that's one of the new class, right?
Yeah, that's one of the new. That's the new tank that was added with the most recent, not update, expansion. So
So, okay. Is it similar to the Dark Knight or?
I haven't played Dark Knight. I unlocked it and I never took it beyond the starting level. So I think it's at what? It starts at level 30. So I think my Dark Knight's still at level 30.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, it is kind of a DPS heavy tank. So it's got a lot of the
Yeah, okay. So,
DPS style rotations and that sort of thing. Yeah.
okay. So, similar to Warriors then in spirit.
Pretty similar to the Warrior. Yeah. I was actually really disappointed when they on when the last expansion came out and they got rid of the because they used to have the tank stances so you could have
Hmm.
your defensive stance or your DPS stance. And I love stance dancing as a warrior. And apparently, a lot of people who played warrior actually liked it, but the other classes it wasn't working so well, and they got rid of all the stance dancing on all the classes. And I kind of wish they would bring it back just for the warrior because it worked really well for the warrior. But oh well.
I can't imagine being on the other side, from the developer side, trying to get all the community comments. How do you want us to balance the game? Hear all kind of sounds like, okay, shut up. I'm gonna balance my game, and you tell me what you think after.
Definitely.
That must be horrible, to be honest.
All right, so moving on to our first official topic, your favorite story. So, which Final Fantasy has your favorite story?
So it's a bit tough. All categories will be tough, but I think in terms of story, I'm gonna go with 10. I really like the story, with Tidus and his father. And no spoilers because it's a very old game, right? So we can talk about it.
I should hope
So,
so. This is like a
in terms
launch
of
PS2 game, right?
yeah, 20 years old, something like this.
Something like
So
that.
yeah, I think everything clicked, really well in the story between Tidus and Yuna, and one of the best love story I would say in FF, like better than the 8, which was told only on the love story. I really like all the drama with seeing, that you can actually never kill really because like each time a summoner kill it and it take its place, and the fact that like Tidus' father is actually the current scene. I really liked it. Also remember uh, at the launch, I remember it's cinematic with all the Chocobo warriors, like Chocobo knights, going through the down the beach to find it. Yeah, I think as a story goes, I really like this one. What about you?
For me, my favorite is going to probably be Final Fantasy VII. So Final Fantasy, like I said, my first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy 3, but officially 6. But I kind of played it in bits and pieces because, like I said, I was playing at my friend's house. So I would play it with him, and then I'd come back maybe a few days later, and I'd skip some stuff, or I'd play it in short bursts, like play it one weekend and then not play it again till the next weekend.
And it's a
So
very long game, huh?
it's a fairly long game. It really depends because 6 is interesting because the first part's kind of long, but the second part, if you want to go back and collect all the characters, it can be long, but you don't have to. You could actually just use the 4 characters that you're going to get. It's actually really short. It's almost like straight to the boss at the end.
Yeah, but you need to grind like crazy because the last dungeon is you need to have quite a high level to do it. I know for me it was a pain. I remember that. I remember I really like the first part of the story. Second part like grinding, grinding, grinding. God damn it. That's
All right, so Ben is asking if anybody has experienced yet with the Final Fantasy 6 randomizer. I'm not sure what that is, so I'm going to have to say no.
randomizer.
I don't know what that is. But I had a
We're gonna
friend.
talk about
Yeah, but I had a friend who figured out how to basically game Final Fantasy VI, and what he would do is he would take at the Genji gloves, which allowed you to equip 2 weapons, and then there was another accessory that allowed you to attack 4 times. So he could attack 4 times with each weapons, which was 8. And then if you had the spell Quick, you could do 2 actions. So he could attack 16 times in one hit. And so what he would do is he would take Celeste, put Bahamut on Celeste because Bahamut boosted your strength, and just leave it on her the entire game. And then by the end of the game, he could hit 16 times in a row at 9999 and one shot Kefka.
did he did he figure it out by himself or
He
did you
figured it
show
out
him
by
a
himself because
second
yeah, we didn't have like the internet back then, so he just figured it out by himself, and
re-
then it
res-
was
respect? Yeah, I know, but there was this big books, like solution books.
yeah. No, but he figured it out himself, and it was kind of a cheap trick because he could just one shot everything in the game. Um, but yeah, I really liked Final Fantasy
We
VII.
should
I
use
think
that.
yeah, I think the reason I liked it was because it was very story driven. Like all the previous Final Fantasies had story, but there was never a focus character. Like in Final Fantasy VI,
Mm.
you could choose who your characters were, and because of that, some of the things were a little bit kind of generic. Where, like for instance, in the final speech, that when you fight up with Kefka, it you basically they have to have kind of generic things that the characters say because you don't know who's going to be in that fight. So basically, it has to be able to fit anybody.
Yeah, yeah,
And
of
in Final
course.
Fantasy VII, it was very focused around Cloud, and I think because of that, it allowed them to really kind of like streamline the story and make it, uh, really focus on these characters and that sort of thing and their relationships. And I think so for that reason, it really stuck with me, and it's probably a bit of nostalgia as well because I mean they've had some great Final Fantasies since then, but
Yeah.
yeah, this one was the first one that kind of really focused in on that. So. All right, so Ben is saying that the randomizer totally randomizes the game. It's very popular for speed running. Essentially, every fight and every chest is totally random, and the levels scale, so it's
Ah,
fair.
damn it. Like FF12, randomize the chest. Ah,
Yeah, well, I
that's
guess
some
it's for
trauma.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess it's
yeah.
for speed running or something,
All
but
right.
then it says the levels scale as well. So if you're level 10, all your enemies are going to be level 10, but if you're level 60, all your
Okay,
enemies are going to
fine.
be level 60. So it
Okay.
says it's called Final Fantasy 6 Worlds Collide. So I have not heard of that. That's new to me.
Yeah, no, no, didn't hear about that either.
I'll have to look that up after the show. All right,
Yeah.
so moving on, what's your favorite world in Final Fantasy? There's obviously been a lot, Spira, Gaia, Ivalice, Azoria. So what's your favorite world?
By far, FF9. I really like, medieval fantasy, kind of steampunk a bit world. I really have to put it down as my favorite story. Like for me, it's my own taste, of course, but I really prefer that from the futuristic kind of cyberpunk, aspect of 7 and 8. Uh, I don't. I'm not especially fan of 12 and 13 worlds. I mean,
Hmm.
games either, to be honest. So, and what I really like about the nine compared to the others is like it's really dark. In the settings, you have several cities. Raised to the ground. The body count is maybe higher than in 10 is quite high as well. But there's a really high body count. I don't know if you recall, but all the Black Mage village story is
Yeah.
really nice, but really kind of bleak. I really love the drama in this game. The steamships, the design of the steamships is really cool. And again, this game I played in what 98 or 99,
It should
and
have
I
been
could tell
around 99, 2000. 1998 was it
yeah,
Final Fantasy 8, so yeah.
yes.
Might be
So
99.
I could I can remember in nearly all the cinematics in the game. It's just fantastic. The first time you arrive in Lindblom with all the steamships and the big city, all the summonings which destroy all the capitals, like Lindblom gets sucked away, Clara, so the red tree, which get like cliffs through by Odin, or the capital city of Alexandria, which literally nuclearized, with a giant fight between Alexander and Bahamut. I mean, in which other FF do you have a fight between Alexander and Bahamut, or like two different summons? That's just this world was fantastic and way above, for me at least, all the others. Well, what about you? Which one do you like most?
So it's funny because you said 12 is the one you don't like. I actually don't like 12 that much, but Ivalice is my
Ivalice,
favorite world. But
I just found it
specifically,
generic.
huh?
I
It is a
just
bit
found it
generic.
generic. That's
It is
why.
a bit
Yeah.
generic, but I liked Ivalice more from the Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. So I mean, they have obviously Ivalice and Final Fantasy Tactics, and it's actually been expanded beyond Final Fantasy because Vagrant story took place in Ivalice as well. Uh,
Hmm.
but I
Oh
really
yeah.
liked, yeah, but I really liked the Tactics Advance world of Ivalice specifically. They had a lot of interesting things, and there were things that you see in Final Fantasy 12 that came from Tactics Advance, like the judges and whatnot. But I really liked it because the way that they had, I mean, the main city of Rabanastre was, yeah, just kind of your generic kind of city thing. But then in Tactics Advance, you have like a lot of the uh, other villages and stuff like that. You have some of the plains things and whatnot. And I really like the fact that they actually incorporated other races of creatures in there because you have the Vira, the Banga, the Numor, the Mughals
Of course,
actually
the
played a
Vera.
really big. Yeah, the Mughals played a fairly big role in there. They were pretty common. I'm trying to think, there were a few others as well. But I really liked it in Tactics Advance because it had, because the way they did the job class system too, certain classes were locked to the races, and so it really kind of fleshed out kind of the culture of each one and what they were thinking, and they had
Mm.
specific summons for each race as well. So they were kind of like, these are, these people worship Ifrit, so they get Ifrit. These people worship this guy, so they get this guy. Um, so
Yeah. No, now that you're saying this, now I recall why I had was kind of disappointed in the game is because the world is really nice, it's really fleshed out. There's lots of things you could do about it, and I remember in my head at least, it was a copy paste from Star Wars. You had the Empire, the rebels, you had Darth Vader and his judges. I was like, oh, just no, seriously. I didn't especially like the role of Sid as well in this game, but yeah, that's why I had this copy paste from Star Wars in my head, like with the world you had, with the airships and all, and could have done better. You'd never, the
yeah, I
other
wasn't a fan
Empire
of
of First
12.
Valia is, yeah, but the world, as you said, the world was really nice, like there was really a lot of things to do.
Yeah, no, there was a, and Ben's pointing out here that you had Tetra Master in 9, Blitzball in 10, you had Triple Triad in 8,
Triple
and
Triad,
you
yes,
had
that was
Gold
the best.
Saucer in 7, which held up a whole bunch of things. But 12 didn't really have anything. 12 had hunts, but that was
Yes.
it. So you had your hunt board where you had to go out and do
Uh,
hunts. And I think that was
that
it.
was just a way to get it to, yeah, just
Yeah,
a way to
yeah.
make your grinding nicer.
Yeah, basically it was just a way to add to the grind. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of 12. I liked the gambit system. I thought the gambit system was really interesting. I like that you could program the AI.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah.
yeah, no, no, that was good. And in 12, the original, uh, I find it. I don't know if you play the Zodiac Age.
No, I played the original.
Com- if you compare both, there's just Zodiac Age is much better. First of all, you were talking about randomizing before. You recall in the 12 when you open this chest at the beginning of the game because you like Final Fantasy and you look for everywhere, and this chest blocked one of the final spears at the very end of the game. So a chest you open after 2 hours of game blocked something ultimate weapon at 60 or 70 hours. Like no, you don't do that to me, game. I hate you now. And yeah, now in Zodiac Age they kind of corrected this. They also added the function that you can speed up by 4 because it's very slow. It's a
Ah,
very slow
yes.
game, and you can speed up by 4 and it change your life. Oh god, you save about 10 hours of running slowly through a dungeon. So uh, yeah, a lot of things to say about 12 because it could have been so great.
Yeah, it had a lot of interesting
Yeah,
systems, like the Gambit system. I actually, when I first
yeah.
played 12, I was really enjoying it. I hated Vaughn. I thought the main character sucked. It should have been about Balth here,
Oh
but
yeah, and
but I
Venado.
remember, yeah, I remember playing up, and then you get to a point where you're supposed to go to a mountain or something like that, and then the story just stopped, and it was just kind of random, and nothing happened for a long time. And I found out later that actually the guy who, I mean, this might be a rumor, this might not be true, but what I heard was the guy who was writing it died, and then they had to get a second writer to come through and finish it, and that's why the first half was just way better than the second
Ah
half.
yes.
So that might have been why as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure. All right, so moving on for world, we're moving on to our favorite cast. So who is your favorite cast of characters?
All right, so I'm not gonna be original. I'm still going to go with 9, but first of all, just to explain, it's just that I'm not a big fan of all the psychological aspect you have around Cloud in 7. It's a great cast, but like all this, divided about Cloud and Zack, and I was not too much about it. Um, on the 8, all the game was sold on the love story between Squall and Linoa. That's one of the I really loved 8. I really loved 8, absolutely. It's just that this love story for me was one of the least interesting part of the game. So that's a bit tough. 6, we talked about 6. Too many characters for me, to my taste. So you can stay, with a 4, but you know, I'm not a completionist, but I like to look about most of the things you can do in the game, and if you miss all the little side story of the character in the 6, you miss a lot. So yeah, too many characters. So no, for me 9 still stay the best because Zidane and Garnet works really well together. The couple of knights as well. Steiner is a very good comic relief. I find it very funny with Beatrice, which is more like the serious side of the knights. Are both very cool. I'd say the only character I didn't like, and that's a shame, it's the bad guy. Like Kuja.
Yeah, the
I
bad
don't
guy.
know if they can. He's not a very good bad guy, especially since he's not even the final boss. So that's the only thing I regret a bit about this. But other than that, no, cast Final Fantasy 9 absolutely.
All
What
right.
about you?
So you're gonna hate me for this. Final Fantasy 15 is actually my favorite cast.
Oh God, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So no, but
I'm
I
gonna shut up. No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. But no, I played the Royal Edition, so I had all the
Ah,
DLC and I had the complete. They had added some extra stuff in there. But I actually liked the cast in Final Fantasy 15 because when I went into it, I didn't think I was gonna like it because I'm like they're just this brooding, moody emo boy band. That's what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get the emo boy band Final Fantasy, and I still have a friend today who refuses to play it for that exact reason, and uh, and it starts off and it kind of seems like it's gonna go in that direction, and then there was a scene very early on where you stop off at the first hotel and Prompto comes out and he asks Noctis to meet him on the roof. And they're talking on the roof, and Prompto's kind of talking about how I don't really feel like I fit in. Like Gladio's this big warrior guy, and he's the son of the Kingsguard or whatever, and what's his name? Ignis is this really, he's really smart, and he's also part of the Kingsguard and all that. And I'm just kind of here. I don't really know where I fit in. And Noctis is like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Get
yeah.
out, Prompto.
Well, but then
Sorry.
Noctis is like, no, dude, you're my friend. Like that's the whole point, man.
Yeah.
Like you're the one that keeps me sane. These guys have this. They elevate me to this level of prince, and you're the only one that treats me like another person and treats me as an equal and treats me as a friend. I need that. I need you to keep me grounded and not, and just the dynamic watching them like the back and forth because they have a lot of the banter. Like in a lot of other games, you pretty much, unless you're in a specific scene for dialogue, they're not talking. But in Final Fantasy 15, there's all the constant banter, when you're driving and stuff like that. And I felt like just the way they connected, it really felt like you were part of a group of friends. It didn't feel like they didn't feel like characters in the game. It felt like people,
Yeah.
and I felt like
I
they were a
see.
lot more fleshed out. So that's why I really liked the cast because I felt like there were definitely things that I would see in these people that would remind me of hanging out with my friends. Like uh, you know, Gladio giving Ignis crap for drinking too much coffee, or Prompto being like, "Dude, let's do this," and then everyone else just kind of groaning and being like, "Oh God, not again." And that just kind of reminded me of hanging out with my group of friends and that sort of thing. So I just felt like the cast really, the story wasn't that great, and but I felt like they felt more human and they felt more like the cohesive group, and that's why to me at the end especially, you really felt like there was more of a personal sacrifice as opposed to like, oh, we're gonna go off and save this. It was more of a personal investment of like, this is why we're helping you out. We're not doing it because we have to. We're not doing it because we're the party. We're doing it because we're your friends, and this is, we're there to back you up. So I actually really liked the cast in Final Fantasy 15. So
Yeah, well, as long as you don't sing the Chocobo song, I guess I'm not gonna hate you. But please
oh,
don't do
I
that.
hummed that to myself. I want to ride my
Oh, no, 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 no,
chocobo
no, no.
all day.
Oh, no, please.
But that's the thing. That's what I liked about it was that some of the characters were annoying, and every group has that one friend where everyone's kind of like groaning,
Yes,
and they're like, but we still love you. You're a pain in the ass, but we still love you. And
yes, but that's the problem. Maybe they love him, but I hate him. He's part of my top three most annoying, hated character. He's very close to Vanille in this aspect. Like FF13 Vanille, she was already like very annoying, but Prompto, ah,
I never
but
played 13, unfortunately. I always wanted to actually. Everyone's like,
14,
it's
no,
crap, but I'm
14 is
like, oh,
good.
I need to. I've heard Lightning Returns is pretty good though.
That's the issue. Number 13.2 is better than 13, to my taste, again. And 13.3 should have never existed.
No, okay. I know I've heard a lot of good things about Lightning Returns, but I've never played any of them because here in
Oh,
Taiwan, there I could only get the Japanese version, so
oh no.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I never gave it a shot.
When I don't have time to play, like 13, definitely I didn't play 2 and 3. I just watch, the movies, HD movies on
Ah,
YouTube. Yeah, yeah, because I play games for the story and I don't have time to do 3 times 60, 70 hours. So just, like play the movies, which is quite long. But when you work, you can just have it on the side of the
so I got
screen.
a non-Final Fantasy question for you. Have you ever played Borderlands?
Of course, I love it.
So what are your feelings on
Lots of
Claptrap?
Ah, did you ever took a big gun and shoot Claptrap? That's what I do all the time.
Okay, so yeah, so
Shut.
see, I
Ah,
absolutely love Claptrap, so I think maybe that's part of the reason
yes,
why I like Prompto.
exactly. No, it's fun. It's a very good comic relief. I just can't help to take the biggest weapon and shoot at him. Say, "Shut up and go, please."
Oh,
Borderland
okay.
wouldn't be Borderland without Claptrap, and I like him much better than I like Prompto. But yeah,
The other thing about Prompto in Final Fantasy 15 is in the Royal Edition. This doesn't happen if you play the original, but in the Royal Edition, they added the ability that you could control the other characters, so you didn't have to control Noctis. You could actually control
ah,
anybody, which was a huge bonus. And Prompto is quite possibly one of the most powerful characters in the game
ah,
when you do that. So like before I unlocked it, because you have to unlock it, he died all the time, every fight. He was just constantly dead. And
Yeah.
he just couldn't keep himself alive. And then as soon as I unlocked it, because Gladio basically just gets big AoE sword swings, uh, Ignis gets the ability that he can use elements, so he can have like elemental attacks. So like fire will add DOTs. Um, Lightning allows him to teleport, kind of like Noctis can. But Prompto, he gets an assault rifle, a grenade, a stun grenade, and a bazooka. And you can just, between the bazooka and the assault rifle, you can basically just take out anything. It's
Ah,
just insanely powerful. So
yeah, I said it before, but I think I have so much trouble with 15 because I made this massive mistake. I took it day one.
yeah,
Never do that.
yeah,
That's
yeah. It was definitely
oh,
incomplete, and even now
what did
it's
I do?
yeah, and even now it's incomplete because they never did the episode Aranea, and they never did the episode Noctis and the episode Luna, so they never finished it. Apparently, if you do the apparently they have books and stuff, so you can flesh that out. But
No, that's no, no, no. I'm sorry. If you have to buy books, first of all, if you have to buy DLC on a game like Final Fantasy, that's very bad. If you have to have the book to have a bit more of the lore, that's horrible. No, no, not a good strategy on this one.
how do you
I
feel
think
about
they,
Seven
yeah,
Intergrade though, where they're adding the
which
Yuffie
one?
DLC? Seven Intergrade, the new DLC with Yuffie. You haven't heard about that?
No clue.
Oh, okay. Well,
No.
then never mind.
Are you talking about 7R?
Remake, yeah.
Yeah, I never played this one.
No,
Really?
unfortunately. And now it's
No,
got
no, no,
another
no.
6 months of exclusivity. So
Yeah, well, again, I didn't play R simply because I was super hyped about it. Like I saw, like FF16 trailer, I'm super hyped about it. I say, oh, it looks great. Let's wait 2 years before you get it. Yeah,
no,
it's
no,
gonna be
no.
on the
Well,
Steam. It's gonna be on Steam sales. All the DLC will be integrated in one nice bundle.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the way to go. And yes, the only issue is I have to slide through the spoilers. But again, it's a remake, so I already know the story, so I don't care.
yeah. I'll get more into remake a little bit later for one of our other subjects. So moving on from cast, who's your favorite villain?
But that's easy and absolutely not original, so sorry about that. But that's Kefka. Of
Everybody
course,
says
of
Kefka.
course, of course, it's Kefka. It's your Final Fantasy equivalent of Joker in Batman. The guy doesn't have a plan. He doesn't care. He just like death and destructions. And very beginning of the game, the guy poisoned a water source to exterminate anyone in the castle. You are a bona fide bad guy. I love you already. There's no. Is he a bad guy? Maybe he's gonna turn out to be a good guy or something. No, 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 no. This guy is not. It's just and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the only villain who actually win.
Yeah,
Like
that's
he
yeah.
actually destroys the world.
Well, that's the
That's
other thing is most enemies want to take over the world or something. Kefka literally just wants everything to end. He's just like, I'm just gonna kill everybody. And it's like, well,
exactly
what are you
yeah.
gonna do when everybody's dead? He's like, I don't know. I just want to kill everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm very sorry to, like Sephiroth slash Genova or Sin was a good villain, but Ultimecia, no, I don't like the time travel bullshit and that. No, no, Kefka is a is a
he's
masterpiece of a
crazy. Yeah.
villain. It's crazy. It's very funny while completely genocidal. Really good. How about you?
So I kind of okay. So I knew a lot of people were going to pick Kefka, and I figured there was a very high chance you were going to pick Kefka. So I was like, I'm not going
Sorry
to go with
about that.
Kefka.
Yeah.
No, it's fine because he's actually not my favorite because
Really?
yeah, because I mean he is really interesting, but at the same time I feel like he's kind of flat. Like he doesn't have too much backstory. It is kind of like
He
I mean
doesn't
he's interesting on the
need.
Joker level, but yeah, there's no depth
Yeah.
to him really. It's like it's really just he's just off his rocker and completely psycho,
Yes,
which is
of course.
fun. Yeah, which is
Yeah,
really
remember
fun.
the cast of FF6. You don't have time.
Yeah, yeah,
For that.
exactly. Yeah, there's what 12 characters and then all the side characters and stuff. So you might not agree again. I'm gonna go with Arden off of Final Fantasy 15 again, and yeah, I know it's a really weird choice. So because a lot of people really like Emmett Selk off of from Final Fantasy 14 and his backstory and everything.
Uh,
A lot of
which one
people
is it?
like Emmett Selk is the guy
Oh,
who's helping you out in Shadowbringers. He's the what do we call
yeah.
him?
Okay, I see. Yeah, it's a good one. I wouldn't pick an MMO for a villain, but
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
maybe.
Because a lot of people like him, but yeah, he's not like a continuous villain. But the
Yeah,
reason I picked Arden was, and this is the thing again, you're not going to get this in the original. In the original, he just kind of shows up and he's evil and he does all these bad things. But I actually really liked him because only because I had played Episode Arden, and in Episode Arden you get his backstory, and then he became really interesting
uh,
because what happens is. I don't know. Final Fantasy. It should be okay for spoilers, right? This game's like 6 years old now, right? Uh,
something like it. Yeah,
yeah,
more or
yeah.
less. Is it-
Should be about
I would
six
have said
years,
for.
four,
I just
six.
moved in. I moved in my new house in 2016, so I think it's 2016 or 2017,
Okay.
15.
Anyway, it's long enough.
But
Whatever.
yeah,
Spoilers. If you're watching this show, you're
yeah.
obviously probably a Final Fantasy fan, so you already know it. But basically, what happened was in Final Fantasy 15's world, there's this. I don't remember what they call it, like the star, whatever, and it'll corrupt people and it turns them into demons, basically. And like 1,000 years ago in the past or whatever, Arden was had this ability where he could absorb that into his own body and he could cure people of this disease. So he was able to save the world. And he was able to save the world from this corruption. And what happened was he was originally set to be the the true king or whatever, and he was supposed to be the king, and he loved his people loved him, he was a great guy, he had a fiance, everything was wonderful. Well, his brother was a little bit jealous of him, and Bahamut, who was kind of the king of the gods, who had actually the plan was when this corruption came to the world, Bahamut was like, let's just destroy the world and get rid of the corruption and kill all humans. And yeah, and then Ifrit, who basically was kind of like the pro, was it Ifrit, who was kind of the Prometheus of the world, took pity on humans. He liked humans, so he was like, no, we got to save them. And so Arden was able to save the world, basically. And Bahamut wasn't too happy about this because he really just wanted to kill everybody. And so what happened was Bahamut basically went to Arden's brother and he said, I will make your lineage the true king. You need to get rid of Arden. And so what happened was Arden's brother kills kills Arden's fiance first. And then when Arden's supposed to ascend to the throne, the gods basically deny him, saying, well, no, you're corrupt because you have all this evil stuff in your body because you saved the world by absorbing this evil stuff into your body. So he's basically mad because the gods are like, we're going to make you the king because you can save the world. Oh, you saved the world? Yeah, now you're corrupt. We're not going to let you be king anymore. Your brother's going to be king. Oh, and because you're corrupt, we're going to lock you in this dungeon for 1,000 years where the image of your fiance who was murdered by your brother is going to tear your body apart over and over and over and over again and just kill you thousands of times. And so he was locked in this repeated thing for thousands of years. And when he comes back out, he still basically wants to save the world. But then what do they call it? Nibelheim or whatever? Not Nibelheim, but the bad guys basically, they convince him that, oh, yeah, you're right. You should be the king. These other guys, they got this king. Screw the gods. Man is the ruler of the world now. And so then they basically get him to release. They find out that he not only has the ability to absorb this power, but he can also project it. And so they use him to project it out, and then they start creating the magic tech guys, and then the demons start coming out. And then yeah, they're basically like, oh, you can end this world because the gods hated you and they screwed you. So yeah, he's actually got a lot of development there. He's got a lot of backstory. It's kind of when you play it, it's kind of like, oh, this guy's kind of tragic. He's not, you kind of
So
feel
it's not
for
the
him and stuff.
villain.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's
Bahamut's the villain.
that's the thing. Bahamut is the villain, actually. Bahamut's the real bad guy. But yeah, I liked him because he was perceived as the villain. But yeah, Bahamut was actually the real villain. But you don't see that in Final Fantasy 15. You see that in Comrades. If you play that in Comrades, Bahamut's the final villain. But yeah.
And what I got with the original version, 2 sentence of backline before sealing Noctis.
Yeah.
literally two sentence. And because someone was actually talking to me at the time, I actually got just the end of the second sentence. What? Backstory of the final boss is finished?
Yeah.
Really? What is? No.
Yeah, so if you played the original, it's really not that great,
Oh,
but if you play the
I have
Royal
so
Edition,
many
it's much
regrets.
better. Yeah,
Uh,
unfortunately, Royal Edition
one
is
day
definitely the better way
maybe.
to do it. Maybe, maybe.
One day maybe, but right now, that's still a no.
All right, so moving on. Soundtrack. What's your favorite OST? This is a big deal in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I have two, but uh, number two, really because it's a game of my childhood. I still go for FF7, Sephiroth, sorry, One Wing Angel. Like
Okay.
a boss battle, which is always nice. And my true favorite, I would go for FF14, which is Answers, which is, I think, would be the main theme. When they launched, they relaunched. So was it version 2.0?
Yeah, that was a Realm Reborn.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, remember. So I really like this one, and I actually discovered while doing some research that so I guess everybody knows Nobuo Uematsu. Sorry for the pronunciation. If you don't know, he's mythical, like a music composers of nearly every FF. And he said that Answers is actually his favorite piece. So see, I
Oh,
have
really?
taste. Yeah, and again, so you'll learn to know me, but I like everything, like drama and bleak and a bit dark. And this music, it's really perfect for me here because basically, it's the kind of stuff like everything is lost. You have no choice to fight, and you know, you're gonna die anyway because the result is obvious. The enemy is just far too strong for you, and yeah, it's a very fun song. But the opera version, they have in Distant World,
Yeah.
I saw it on YouTube. It's just amazing. I would die to go to see Distant World. They never come to Montreal.
Ah.
Never. And of course, with the pandemic and stuff, they're not about to come. But yeah, when they come, first thing I do is get tickets, front row. Really.
Yeah, they've never been to Taiwan either, but we're closer to Japan, so in theory, I could kind of pop on over.
Oh yeah. Is that expensive, to go there?
Not super expensive. Well, especially not for me. My wife works for the airlines, so we get free
No
tickets.
excuse.
We get free
No
tickets. Yeah, we
excuse.
only have to pay the gas tax, and that's basically it. So, but I don't know when the next one's going to be. So, but yeah, so
No,
Final
yeah.
Fantasy, I really enjoyed the OST of Final Fantasy 7. I was kind of thinking 14, but then I was like, in terms of soundtrack, I feel like 14 is kind of cheating because 14 is like the best of the best because they take all the best music from all the other Final Fantasies and then put them in.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a
So
lot of
I'm like, that's kind
remake.
of an unfair advantage there.
Yes.
So I ended up going with Final Fantasy 8. I'm not a big fan of Final Fantasy 8, but I really liked the music in it. Pretty much everything from
Yeah, I
Liberati
think I know.
Fatale to Blue Fields. Just the overworld music is really relaxing. Fisherman's Village is really
Yeah, it's a very
relaxing.
relaxing one. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it, and then I really liked the music in Final Fantasy VIII. So overall, I would say Final Fantasy VIII is probably my favorite OST. I also really enjoy Final Fantasy VII, and that was one of the things that I remember when I played Final Fantasy IX. I was like, all right, let's get into the music, and then I was like, once I was done, I was like, I remember one song from this, and then Final
Yeah.
Fantasy
No, I.
X was the same thing. I was like, I don't remember any of these songs, and then in Final Fantasy 12, I don't remember anything from Final Fantasy 12 as far as music. So I felt
Yeah,
like,
I do,
yeah,
but just because I was frustrated.
yeah, 15. There's like two songs I like. So I really felt like it, but like 6, 7, 8, they all had lots of songs that I really enjoyed. 14 obviously
Yeah.
has a lot as well. I really enjoy, uh, like the Tsukiyomi theme and I really like the Beauty's Wicked Wiles, the Lakshmi, the Bollywood song.
We. Okay.
I
Yeah, yeah,
love
yeah.
that one.
Really good one.
It's so out of left field, but it just fits so well. Um,
Mm.
and then, but yeah, it recycles everything. I mean, the Shadowbringers theme is the theme from Final Fantasy 3, so they just put words on it.
Yeah, as I recycle a lot.
Yeah,
And
but yeah,
they
8 I
change
think is
because like the special month where I think was you have a Terrace team, from FF3, or a special month where you have a specific music on it.
yeah. They take it from the older
Music
games.
adapt the month. Yeah, exactly. It's like a bit remixed, like very good quality. It's cheating, as you said.
But yeah, as far as all the as far as I think Final Fantasy VIII probably has the most songs that I like. And if I had to pick a favorite song all together out of Final Fantasy, I don't know. I might go with One Winged Angel, but I might also go with Genova. I just like the intro part with the da 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 da, and it kind of has that like
Oh
thing,
yeah,
like it almost
absolutely.
like yeah, you get that like the feeling of like rain or like shooting stars or something, and I think it really kind of fits that monster that falls from the heavens kind of motif.
Yeah, no, that's really
Um,
good one. Yeah,
so I really
good
like
choice.
Genova. Yeah. All right. So, what about abilities or the way that they do magic and whatnot in the game?
It's a bit tough this one. I said like the materia system from FF7, mainly because that's the one I remember the most. To be honest, of all of them, what I like in the seven, and I don't think they took it in other FF, is was a limit system, where you had I think was 4 levels, and in each level you had 2 or 3 limits, limit breaks, and you had to do you had to to do specific conditions to unlock the next. Like you have to do 120 times this one to unlock the next one, and you had
Oh
to
yeah.
it was really cool, except that there was nowhere to actually find the conditions. At the time, I had this in front. There was a book called Game One, Player One, and I had to go in there to see what was the requirement. But yeah, I like this one. Uh, we talked about it previously, but Gambit on FF12, that was a good thing. I really liked it. Also, you had to spend a lot of time in there to make it very efficient. But once you make it very efficient, after you don't need to play. The Gambit does everything for you. So yeah, that's kind of it for me. So what about you?
Yeah, for as a computer science major, the Gambit system to me was like right up my alley. I'm like, this is like programming.
Ah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, I would probably have to go with Final Fantasy Tactics. I really like the job system and the way you could customize the characters, the way you could like mix and match abilities and stuff like that. Like you could put the monk basically with any kind of magic class because they could regen their own magic. The MP back, which was really kind of hard in that game. So I really liked the Final Fantasy Tactics job system. I just thought it was really great. Um, so yeah, simple as that.
Yeah, actually, I think the very early games, like I think 1 and 2, where you could switch to I don't know, there was so many jobs you could get. When you go to the dragon and say which job do you want, you go from thief to ninja to. There was so many class or kind of jobs you could take. That was a good system too.
I
But
know
I didn't play this enough to actually tell you exactly if it's. I can't tell if it's my favorite, but it looked very interesting system.
five had job classes where you could switch your job classes, and that's one of the things in five they had my favorite job class, which was I don't remember if it's called the Rune Knight or the Mystic Knight, but basically what it was is it was Celeste's ability in Final Fantasy VI, where they would basically put their sword up,
Yeah.
and whatever attack they were hit with next, they would absorb the magic rather, so they wouldn't take damage, so it was defensive. But at the same time, it would charge their weapon with that element, so now they're attacking with fire damage or whatever. So that was my
Mm.
favorite job class of any Final Fantasy, and it hasn't really been used in a Final Fantasy since. So maybe it was too powerful. I don't know,
Ah,
but yeah,
in 14, wait for the next update.
probably. All right. So speaking of ability system, what about combat? What was your favorite games in terms of combat?
Uh, Most FF are like turn-based, like apart from the remake, which was like more like RPG, action RPG. So I can tell you which one I hate.
Okay.
Like, imagine you remember like 10, 10 to 12. I don't remember if 13 was like this, but when you summon, you summon your summon.
Yeah.
Don't know how you say it other than that. And he actually came with a caster, and fight with you in the center of the field.
And you
I
lose all
really
your other
hated that.
characters.
Uh, exactly. Yeah. Now I really prefer the classics 7, 8, 9, where you summon something, big cinematic, explode the field, and then you start again. So this combat system. Nah. So if I have to pick, but that would be the FF8 junction system, like the Gambit in 12. You have to spend so much time in there to make it very efficient. I don't know if you recall, like all of your summons, they can learn abilities and magic, and then you put it against your stats to get them up, and you need to have 100 of this type of magic to get your HP very high. Complicated system. Find a YouTube video to explain the junction system of the 8. It's a bit like the 12. You need to spend a lot of time in it, but once you get it right, it's overkill. Like you can shoot very hard all the time. So yeah, they like to make things complicated. So how about you, Adam?
I remember in 8, thought it was super, super hard. And then later on now I'm looking at people and they're like, oh, yeah, if you get into junctioning, you can make the game just super easy. You can almost break it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that junctioning was that powerful, because you can junction magic as well as other stuff. For me, though, it is actually Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really enjoyed it. When they first announced it, I was like, turn-based, turn-based, turn-based. And then they didn't make it turn-based. And I was like, no! And I was super disappointed. And I was really kind of upset. And then I played the game because I'm like, of course I'm going to play the game. And then when I played the demo, I was like, I don't really like this system. And then when I played the main game, as I got used to it, I actually was like, wow, the system is actually really cool. I really enjoy this. And it works out really, really well. So basically, you still have all your materia that, like you did in Final Fantasy VII. So you can still customize your characters. But now what they did is each weapon comes with an ability. And you can use the ability when that weapon is equipped. And if you use it a certain number of times, then the character can learn it permanently, which allows them to use the ability on other weapons. So each character is much more customized. Yeah, so like in Final Fantasy VII, everybody was basically the same. Maybe their stats were slightly different, but everybody was basically the same. It was just, were you a ranged character or a short-range character? In Final Fantasy VII, everybody plays very differently because everybody has their own unique abilities and everybody has their own unique weapons and stuff like that. So it's really cool. And then what I really liked about it was what you do is you do your basic, if you take damage, if you block, or if you attack, or just slowly over time, you can build up your active time meter in the same as Final Fantasy VII. And then once you've filled the bar, then you can use items, you can use magic, you can use your commands. So basically, it is turn-based, but it's giving you something to do between your turns, which is dodging, attacking, and blocking. So it's still, so it's still a turn-based thing, but it gives you something to do rather than just waiting. So if you look at it that way, then it becomes a lot more fun. And it is kind of annoying sometimes because you're like, I want to use an item to heal, but I need to wait for this thing to charge up. But other than that, it works out pretty well. And what I really liked about it was you can go into your menus and select your magic manually, like you could in Final Fantasy VII or any other one. But what you can also do is you can set quick, what are they called? Like basically quick buttons. So I think you hold down like R1 or something like that, and you can assign something to the triangle, square, X, and circle. And so then that way, if you have an attack that you use a lot, like that you're going to go up against a fire enemy, you just set fire to that, and then you don't even have to go through the menus. You can just, knock it off really quickly once your bar is charged. So it made it gave you all the options of the regular active time battle, but at the same time, it was a lot more engaging. So I just really loved the Final Fantasy VII Remake combat system.
Maybe you can confirm that, because it's one of the complaints I heard a lot is that you spend far too much time in the menus in 7R. So it's not your feeling at all?
No, it wasn't my feeling at all. Because that was the thing is I didn't realize that you could set these quick buttons. And so I didn't know that at first. So I was just going through the menu. So it might be the kind of thing where people didn't realize that they had that. Because there were definitely abilities that I would use far more often, like maybe Cure, or for instance, Cloud has an ability that'll like charge and break the enemy's defense and stuff like that. And I was using these or like Eris would have certain attacks that I would use, and that would speed it up. It's because you can have 4 attacks on quick access, and so if you so you can access anything. But I mean, most of the times, especially for small enemies, you're probably not going to need too many of those things.
Keep going, and
So,
you
yeah.
almost sold the game to me. Is it? Do you know if it's available on PC or is it just a
No,
PlayStation at the moment?
unfortunately, it was PlayStation 4, and it was supposed to be a year's worth of exclusivity, which personally I think was too long. I say a month would have been optimal. I would have accepted a
Maybe
month. A
6.
year is far too long. And then now they've announced Integrate, which comes out next month, and
Yeah.
PlayStation did a deal with SquareSoft where they've extended the exclusivity for another 6 months. So it's going to be another
Damn.
6 months
So,
until you can get the game, which is, in my opinion, ridiculous that you have to wait a year and a half. Um, I don't think that's
again,
fair. Yeah.
in a year or two, or a year and a half, I'll have the bundle on Steam in sale.
Well,
Maybe.
now, yeah, if you buy it on PS5, it is going to be the bundled version now. I think Integrate is the official
Oh yeah, but
PS5
yeah.
version. It's just that if you have the original, you can buy the upgrade. Otherwise, you just buy the full version,
Mm.
Integrate. Um, but yeah, and actually, Final Fantasy VII Remake is interesting in that it's one of the games that did not have a day one patch, if I remember correctly. And actually, they've only had one patch ever, and that patch was because some people were having a problem with textures not loading properly on doors. That was the only issue it had. So it came out actually pretty complete. So
Yeah.
unlike Final Fantasy 15 or something that had to be updated, this one actually came out pretty much exactly as it was supposed to be. So
But while we're on topic, actually, wasn't this game supposed to be like episodic? Like,
it is. Yeah.
yes. So do you think for each episode they're gonna renew the exclusivity, so it's just never gonna hit PC at all?
They might.
That's
They're definitely not going to renew the exclusivity of the first game. So they might do exclusivity for Final
on
Fantasy
the
Remake
other.
2, but Final Fantasy Remake 1 wouldn't renew its exclusivity. No, I don't think. I
Okay.
think it's only Integrate because Integrate is like the upgraded version of this one. And I think part of the reason is because since Integrate is officially the PS5 version, then they wanted the exclusivity on the new episodes, but on PC they would never release the original. They would just release Integrate.
Of course, yes,
So
it makes
that's why
sense.
they wanted more exclusivity on it. I think that's why. Uh, but yeah, but yeah, it's episodic, but they do expand each section out into a full game. So like the first game is just Midgar. It just takes you to the point where
Yeah,
you leave
exactly. Yeah.
Midgar. But it is in itself a full game's worth of stuff.
Mm.
So it does
So a
expand it
lot of
out quite
things
a
to
bit.
happen after.
Yeah, so they go into a little bit more, like for example, how in Final Fantasy VII you guys are part of Avalanche, and in Remake they actually talk about how you're a cell of Avalanche,
Eco-
but Avalanche is a
okay.
much larger organization. But you're actually, because Barrett's tactics are a little bit more extreme than what the other Avalanche groups want. Because he's willing to
Strict.
because he's willing to bomb reactors and stuff like that, and so that's why you don't see the rest of Avalanche, is because they've basically been outcast from the larger group because the larger group doesn't want to associate with them because they feel that they're
So
a
it's
bit
a
too extremist.
yeah,
Yeah,
the tourist side of Avalanche. Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're terrorists, and Avalanche doesn't. The rest of Avalanche, I mean, they do things, but they don't want to bomb reactors because they're worried about civilian casualties, and they have no problems going up against Shinra, but they don't want to risk civilian casualties and stuff like that. So they think that Barrett's a bit too extreme. So you do actually see them at one point, but you don't. But yeah, so they're not quite fleshed out, but you can tell that they're going to obviously be a much bigger part of the story. And the new Intergrade, they're adding, I believe they're called Deep Ground. It's the group that was added in Dirge of Cerberus. So they're being
Yeah.
added in.
I've
So
seen
they're just expanding on all the lore and stuff
with
like that.
Valentine.
Yeah, so maybe Vincent Valentine will make an appearance in Intergrade. It's not quite sure yet. So uh,
I'd like to.
I would like
Favorite
to as well.
character.
I hope so. My
It's
favorite
really
character
good
is actually
Vincent.
probably Cloud, and after Cloud, Sid. But yeah,
Sid is cool, but Vincent still first. He's dark. He's dark.
he is dark. All right, so moving on to your favorite weapon in all of Final Fantasy.
Very classic, I'm afraid. I'll go with Sephiroth, Masamun, the one
Okay.
which is he plays shish kebab with Iris.
Yes, and Cloud.
Exactly, yeah, and Cloud. So, yeah, this one. What about you?
For me, it's actually I'm kind of cheating here. I really like the Buster Sword, and gunblades are kind of an interesting weapon, but they're
The
completely
Gunblade?
impractical. Yeah, they're really
Oh,
iconic.
okay,
They
okay.
look really beautiful. But I'm
They
gonna
look
actually
good, but
they look really
yeah.
cool. But I'm gonna actually go with Cloud's fusion sword from Advent Children.
Ah,
Apparently, the
yeah.
story behind it was when they came out with Advent Children, people were like, okay, or so, I guess the creators were like, okay, in Final Fantasy VII, Cloud went with bigger is better. So how can we change up the formula? And somebody said, what about more is better? And so they were like, fine, let's give them all these swords that combine into one big one. Um,
But it works
it
in Advent
works.
Children. It works. It works perfectly. You know.
Yeah. And it's just really, I just really like it. I think it's actually kind of beautiful in the way it's all put together.
Yeah.
And I love that it creates the silhouette of the original Buster Sword. So I really like the Fusion Sword in Advent Children. I think that was a really interesting weapon. Again, completely impractical. There's no way this would ever work in real life, just layering sword on top of sword on top of sword. But it just looks really cool. All
On that
right.
topic, I would also talk about like FF12 and in 14 obviously, Gilgamesh was all the mythical swords of all the FF, but as fake.
Oh,
You
yeah,
remember
he's got
them?
all the
Yeah,
fake ones.
the fake. I have all the best sword. Big fake on it.
Yeah. It's just all the like the kind of things that the otaku will hang on their wall,
Exactly.
made out of cheap metals and whatnot. That was pretty good.
Exactly.
All right, and speaking of Gilgamesh, what's your favorite monster? This is our last topic here. So your favorite monster in all the
All right.
Final Fantasies?
I'll go back to FF7 again, and
Okay,
I'll go with Tomberry.
okay.
Do you remember Tomberry?
Oh, he's in all the Final
You,
Fantasies. I think he was in the original one, but they called him Pug for some reason.
maybe for me, there's still this bloody little green toad who can one shot you with this little like kitchen knife.
Yes.
He pissed me off so much. But you have in the 7, I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember him in other games, but in 7, you have to fight him and to transform him. You have an ability to transform him into
Yeah,
a ribbon,
Morph.
and ribbon it's this absolutely yeah, OP accessory where you're immune to all negative effect.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely you need this ribbon. That means you need to confront this bloody toad of the Tomberry. And yeah, so that's why it's like this love-hate relationship. Yeah, I'm not gonna forget about this one. What
Yeah.
about you?
They have
Which one
tons
would
of
you like?
life too. Mine's gonna be the Morbol, the big plant with bad breath. That thing is one of the most annoying enemies to me, just because he's the counter
I
opposite
I,
of the
I have a ribbon for
Tonberry.
that.
Yeah, if you have a ribbon, then he's nothing. But if you don't have a ribbon, then he's like possibly the worst. And in Final Fantasy 14, even today, that is one of the worst dungeons to run. I actually really enjoy that dungeon, but if you have a team with new people and they don't know what they're doing, that dungeon Aramvale is the worst because
The
just
valley one.
yeah, the one where you go in and you have to eat the fruit.
You stack poison.
Yeah, they add stacks to you and you
Yeah,
have
you
to eat
stack
the fruit
poison and
and
you stack. Yeah, you have lots of stacks. Oh,
yeah, because new
yeah,
people they don't know how
I
to pull
really
in the first area,
didn't
so you
like
almost
it.
wipe immediately. Yeah,
Uh,
it's so frustrating.
yeah.
I love
I don't
Aramvale,
know if
but
you recall, but at the point, yeah, do you remember that at the time it was the last dungeon before the next update, so you had no choice to do this one over and over and over again, which is why it's like, no, not Unveil again, no, no more.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and new people they just had no idea how to run it, and you have somebody explaining it, and people don't get it, and it's just like, oh my god. And then people, and that's the thing too, is because I play a tank a lot. You know, most people I think on the first hit on the first guy you're supposed to eat after 2 stacks, maybe 3. As a tank, I can go up to 4, and sometimes I'll get like a healer
Three,
that's like
yeah.
freaking out, and they're like, eat it," and I'm like, I can take it, I can take it," and it's just, uh, it's like I'm a tank. I can go up to 4. Okay, if I eat it, I don't want us to run out. But the most annoying thing for me as a tank though is because I will cut it close and I will go up to 4, and I can do that. But then usually I'll tank and there's like a fruit right behind me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat this as soon as I need it, and like I'll get up to 3 stacks or something, and the monk or whatever will run over and grab it, and I'm like, now I have no more fruit. What am I supposed to do? Like I'm not gonna be able to hold this up to 5. I can go to 4. That's my limit. Um, so yeah, when they take your fruit, that's
Good
just
thing on the
super
12,
annoying.
actually.
Hmm?
Yeah, good thing on the remember FF12 they have this super cute marbles, with a little mustache and the crown and the I think that was the best design for marbles they had.
Yeah,
The stewards and the rapmaster.
yeah, the King Marble.
They were a pain, of course, but
Yeah. I also really love cactuars. My
yeah.
PSN ID is a cactuar, actually. So if you ever see me on PSN, you'll see a cactuar. So, so I love those guys as much.
But the
And
one for me would be the Pampa. Yeah,
yeah, and then
Pampa. Cactuar is
Pampa.
the little.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's how I called it, but maybe that's just a French translation.
What is it? What does it look like?
It's all right. Pampa.
Pampa. What does it
You
look like?
know the little green guy doing like this and shooting 1,000 on dinner at
Oh,
you.
okay, okay, yeah, that's the cactuar. That's the cactuar in English, yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, it's a
okay.
cactuar. Yeah.
Okay. No,
So
then
I
never
love
mind.
him. Yeah, that's my logo on Final Fantasy or on PlayStation. So if you ever see that, that's me. All right, and then Ben here says that
All right.
his favorite or maybe least favorite is the Magi Master, so rolling elemental weaknesses. So they'll change what their weakness is. So you're like, all right, fire, 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 and it's like, nope, now I absorb fire. It's like, ah, dang.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, so that takes us through our Final Fantasy episode. We're a little bit longer than usual, but not too much, so not too bad. So that's it for the show. All right, thank you everyone for listening and watching. If you were here on the stream, don't forget that we stream the podcast every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Taiwan time, which is 10 p.m. Monday night, U.S. Eastern time. So, what is your favorite Final Fantasy? What is your favorite, iconic weapon, villain, whatever? Do you agree, disagree with us? Go ahead, leave some comments on Facebook or YouTube or wherever. And yeah, thanks for coming. So, Antoine?
Yeah, so same. So best place to get your thoughts would be on social media. I'm not gonna list them again, but yeah, go to our Facebook page, Middle Age Gamers 2020, and you'll see them all there. So yeah, keep an eye on our future streams, our YouTube videos, and well, that's it for me. So thank you guys, and see you next week.
All right, guys. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.